Hey guys, welcome back to Zane Customs. In this week's episode, we're going to be sculpting a creeper from the video game Minecraft. So I started this sculpt off on my iPad in an app called Forger, just to get the basic body down. And I started with a basic cube, just stretched it up, and then pulled out 4 legs. And it looks pretty cartoony right now. Like, I like to leave a little bit of the boxiness on my Minecraft sculpts, so you can tell it's, Minecraft. Just a little bit of an homage, but this one's a little too cartoony, so as you'll see, I'll work it back and forth a little bit, and it eventually gets a lot more realistic, a little more creepy looking. So this is what I was talking about here. I'm adding in some muscles and some rib cages, and just a lot of things like that to make it look more realistic and more like it could be an actual physical creature. I'm still leaving all the trademarks, just the 4 legs, the fairly square body, the open mouth, all those things, but I want it to look as realistic as possible. So unfortunately, while doing the sculpt, I lost quite a bit of the footage, so it's going to jump from this early on blocking out stage towards a more highly detailed and more realistic version of the sculpt, as you can see here. And basically all that you miss is just detailing, which that's the fun thing to watch, but unfortunately I lost that video. But what I'm doing here is I actually read online that the Minecraft creeper's texture was designed to look like tree camouflage. They wanted it to look like leaves, so that's why I was looking up leaf bugs. To obviously I could paint him and just do light greens and dark greens and browns and make it look like camouflage, but I wanted to have a little bit more than that, so I'm looking up some reference images of leaves to add a little bit of the leaf texturing, little leaf patterns throughout the body. And as you can see here, under his neck and on his face, he's got a lot of wrinkles and creases, and I basically did that because I wanted it to, like I said earlier, I want it to be more realistic. I wanted to pull away from the cartoony side, so I tried to add in a lot more muscles and tendons, or those creases, to make it look like a reptile skin almost. And you can even notice on his rib cage too, it's a lot more sunken in and it's more protruding. And his whole body overall, it's still got a boxy shape to it, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. I basically just wanted to do that to make it look like this is something that you might be able to see in the real life. Obviously you're not gonna, and obviously it's a weird looking animal already, but I feel like this is a much more realistic thing you would see out in nature than what I started with. Here you'll notice I'm doing a lot of the finished detail work, cutting in those lines in his face where the crease is. And if you see my previous videos, you might be wondering why I'm not doing that in ZBrush. And that's because I do normally like to do it in ZBrush, just block out on my iPad and then finish it up in ZBrush. But with these Minecraft sculpts, they're actually a lot more simple than some of the other sculpts I work on. They're pretty basic and they don't cost a lot of processing power, so I'm able to do a lot of it on the iPad. And again, it's just whatever's convenient, whatever's easiest for me. What I like about ZBrush, aside for it being more powerful, I can actually cut things away. So on my previous video with the skeleton, I wasn't able to do a lot in Forger. I just basically blocked him out, but I couldn't cut the holes in his ribcage or anything like that because it just doesn't have that option. So I put it over into ZBrush so I could do that, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm cutting out a hole in his chest because I had the idea of having kind of like an exposed heart on the inside of the creeper, and that would be basically his explosion mechanism. And you'll see in a minute here, I start sculpting the heart, and it's not realistic to Minecraft or the Minecraft lore. I don't know how Minecraft science works. I mean, I know if you kill a creeper you get gunpowder, so obviously his heart's not the thing exploding, but I just thought it would be kind of a cool idea to have an exposed heart on the inside and have it kind of glowing to show that that's, if you startle it or scare it, whatever, if it gets spooked, that's what's going to explode. So I've never sculpted a heart or any sort of internal organ or anything like that before, so I was a little nervous about this part of it, but it ended up being a lot easier and a lot funner than I expected. The body of the heart itself is just a sphere, and I pulled the bottom of it to a point, and then all the tubes coming off it are just cylinders that are stretched and warped. And it ended up looking a lot better than I was expecting and went a lot quicker. Then here what I'm doing is using another cylinder to cut holes into some of the tubes coming off the heart. Again, ZBrush has that ability that Forger doesn't, which makes it such a powerful tool. But yeah, this isn't a super accurate, it's not an anatomically correct heart, but also, I mean, a creeper's not a real creature. I could make some things up, and also, even if a creeper was a real creature, I'm not going for hyper realism. I'm just doing my take on a realistic version of Minecraft mobs, and so I don't have to have a perfectly realistic heart. Again, this is also, that's a pretty big heart, like compared to its body. I don't know, like with a human, I don't think the heart would be that big compared to its body, but it's a creeper, and I can kind of just do what I want with it. And pretty much the only thing that I hadn't sculpted before I put it in ZBrush was the feet, and obviously the heart, because I wasn't able to get the heart into the body until I put it in ZBrush. So once I do the feet, now it's just final detail work, and then I can move on to painting. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but painting is tough for me. I'm forcing myself to do it with every sculpt I do, and I think that's good because I feel like I'm getting better with it. But this sculpt in particular was actually pretty tough because, for one, the creeper is just green. I mean, it's different variations, different shades, different tones of green, but it's mainly just green. So that was hard to get a good balance of light and darks, as well as wanting darks for the shadows, but also using other dark greens for splotches on his bodies to give it that camo look. So this one took me some time to get that right. The second challenge was the heart, and I wanted it to look like it was glowing, as well as I wanted his eyes to look like they were glowing. And I have ZBrush Core, which is the cheap version of ZBrush. I don't know if the full version of ZBrush has the ability to make objects glow, but ZBrush Core does not. So I had to use painting to make it look as if it was glowing, and I actually am really pleased with how it turned out. But that was a pretty tough thing for me to make something look like it was glowing with just colors and not actually being able to just turn a glow effect on. There are some part of the creeper's body that I painted brown, some of it just for camouflage, but some of it on the back of his neck and the top. I wanted it to look like it was a harder material, almost like he had horns or some exposed bone. So I did paint that brown and had some tan highlights on there, but other than that, it's pretty much all green. And then you can see his eyes right now are just black, but eventually I go in and try to make them glow, and here I'm adding some yellow and orange on the inside of the creeper's rib cage and a little bit on the outside to make it look like some of that glow is coming out. Which I didn't think the ridge cape glow worked very well. I think it looks better on the heart and the actual eye itself, but just something that I gotta get better at. And here you can see on the eye, I start with black, a little red, a little orange, and a little yellow, and it actually makes it look pretty good. Looks like it might actually be glowing. And here, this is pretty much the last step. I got him painted to it how I want. Now I'm throwing in my Enderman and my spider to set a scale for him, because I want him, like, if you were to purchase these sculpts, I want them to be set side by side. I want them to be the proper size. I'll actually look up pictures a lot of how big they are in game so that they're the proper size. Alright, that's the finished sculpt. I'm just going to throw some photos up here so you can see what those rendered images look like. But yeah, that's the whole video. Thanks for watching. Check out my Instagram and my Etsy. They're both set up at Zane Customs. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.